Well, the last time we spoke, we were anticipating CJ Carr, the outstanding 2024 quarterback from Michigan, was going to select the Fighting Irish. And Mike, that in fact happened. He is now in the class of 2024 for the University of Notre Dame. Thankfully, there was no drama. CJ picked the Fighting Irish. Let me get your overall impressions after seeing him in person, learning more about CJ Carr. What do you think the Irish have in this quarterback from Michigan?
Oh, Darin, I think I'm going to throw a cliche at you. He's a better young man than he is a football player. But that's saying something because he is a darn good football player. I mean, on the field, I mean he's really got everything. He's got the ability to throw on the run. He's got the ability to dissect from the pocket. He's got the arm talent, the accuracy, the bloodlines. I mean, just Darin. Pretty much everything about him as a quarterback, he's got. There's no glaring weaknesses in this young man's game. He is just a bona fide stud at the quarterback position. So, it's a big time get for the Fighting Irish, and one that Notre Dame fans should be really excited about. And then, off the field, terrific leader. Just a fantastic young man. He's smart. Got the grades. Just an intelligent human being, and comes from a great family. That family might bleed, maize and blue instead of blue and gold. But hey, CJ Carr right now bleeds blue and gold, so that's all that matters, right?
Mike, going forward, as this class continues to build, do you expect CJ to be heavily involved in talking to recruits? Do you get a sense that he wants to be involved in the process?
Well, Darin, he committed last Thursday, and 2 days later, he was back in South Bend to recruit, and he was just on campus the week before. So he made the trip in because Notre Dame had a huge official visit weekend, and he really wanted to, recruit. And let me say this, Darin, I would, 99% of the time when recruits tell me that, yeah, I want to recruit and help build my class, that's always just for their class. That, Carr's a 2024 commit. Well, for now, maybe it's 2023. We could talk about that in a second, Darin. But he told me that he wants to recruit both classes. Like, he's got the intelligence to say, I'm not just going to be playing with the 2024 recruits. These 2023 guys, I'll be playing with them as well. So I want to make sure I get a really good class there as well. So pretty intelligent kid there. And yeah, he's got that charisma and the big name, the highly ranked recruit to have some say with these prospects on the recruiting front.
Based on what you just talked about there, let me give you a hypothetical. If you were to sit down with CJ Carr right now and talk to him about wide receivers in the 23 and 24 class, who do you hope he becomes buddies with?
Well, one was just on campus this past weekend, and they had a post on Instagram together. Rico Flores from Folsom, California, four-star receiver. He's down to Georgia, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. Pretty good top three, and he's visiting Georgia this weekend, I believe it is, and Ohio State the next. So that's a big one. And then Jaden Greathouse is officially visiting this weekend, four-star receiver from Austin, Texas. I'll check in with CJ. Maybe he's coming back to campus this weekend as well. Christian Hamilton's a North Carolina four-star receiver in the 23 class who's also expected to be on campus this weekend. So I expect Carr to be recruiting those guys hard.
Mike Singer, Notre Dame football recruiting insider, Blue and Gold Illustrated, blueandgold.com, joining me here on WSBT Radio. Let's go a different direction with CJ Carr for a moment. Mike, I know on social media there was some speculation that possibly CJ could reclassify. Two-part question. Number one, for people that don't follow recruiting closely, what does reclassify mean? And is CJ Carr considering it?
Well, yeah, a few things there. First of all, there's all sorts of speculation on Twitter all the time. But this one does have some merit, though, I will say. As far as what reclassifying is, so CJ right now is slated to graduate in the class of 2024. He would enroll early at Notre Dame, like a semester early. So he would either get to if you're a class of 2024 player, you would either get to Notre Dame in the summer of 2024, or you would enroll early to be participating in spring ball for 2024. So you would get there in January. Well, he's looking at graduating a whole year early. So instead of going into his junior year like he is right now, he could skip a year and be a senior this fall at Saline High School just outside of Ann Arbor. So that is an option. To do that, especially at a school at Notre Dame, it's not easy. You've got to have a lot of your schoolwork done. You got to take extra classes. Like he's taken some extra classes this summer to be able to have the academic requirements to do that. So like I said, it's not easy to do, especially at Notre Dame, but it goes back to something I said earlier. Very intelligent young man. He's got fantastic grades and all that good stuff. So he is working. Look, from what I've been told and what CJ even told me last week is that his plan is to stay in the 2024 class. But there's still the option available this summer for him to possibly go ahead and graduate early. So he would join the 2023 class. And whether he would get to Notre Dame in January of 2023 or in the summer of 2023, I don't know right now. But again, there's at least a possibility that he would skip a grade essentially. But right now the plan is for him to stick in the 2024 class. I hope that made sense.
I don't expect an update, but I have to ask the question, anything new with the 23 quarterback Dante Moore and his recruitment?
It really depends on who you talk to. There was a big 7-on-7 tournament out in Las Vegas over the weekend where Dante was at, and I mean, you typically don't get to do interviews with Dante unless you're with him in person. He doesn't really take phone calls anymore, and a lot of the buzz was not about Notre Dame. It's more about Oregon or LSU. Or he's visiting Texas A&M unofficially this weekend, so I'm still hearing that Notre Dame's in the mix for Dante Moore, but a lot of the national people that have spent time with Mr. Moore recently feel like Notre Dame is slipping in the recruitment. Michigan seems to have it seems to be rejuvenated in the recruitment. So the shift, and again, there's nothing that Dante has said publicly that would make you believe that Notre Dame is slipped. I would maybe also add that there's nothing that Dante has said publicly that made us believe before that Notre Dame was a big favorite. It's a lot of reading in between the lines and what your sources tell you, right? And it seemed to have a shift from before CJ Carr's commitment to afterwards, where Notre Dame has stood for Dante Moore, and it's gone from Notre Dame being a favorite to pondering how much Notre Dame's in the mix now.
Interesting. Mike Singer, Notre Dame football recruiting insider, Blue and Gold Illustrated, blueandgold.com. I'm Darin Pritchett. Let's talk about Elijah Page for a couple of moments. Offensive tackle in the class of 2023, the 15th member of that class, and the Phoenix native jumps on board the Fighting Irish in a pretty impressive list of schools. First of all, he had to choose from. Mike, what stands out about Elijah Page?
A lot does, Darin. I mean, the size at 6'6", almost 6'7", 305 to 310 pounds is impressive. I mean, just his tape as a junior, and again, this is last fall. He's gotten a good bit bigger in the past, 6-7 months or so. Can play left or right tackle. I prefer him at right tackle because, like we saw on this play for folks watching this on YouTube, his run blocking ability is really good. You'll see him on this play, again for YouTube audience, he's pancaking a 5-star defensive end right there, Elijah Rushing. Or at least he's a top 10 player in the country. I mean, that's a big-time target for Notre Dame as well that he's putting to the ground there. So, I mean, he is someone who is not ranked super high. He's a 4-star recruit per the On3 consensus ranking. But, not like a top 100 recruit. But this is someone who was actually if my memory serves me correctly, Harry Hiestan's first offer when he got back to Notre Dame, it took him a couple months to, because he was kind of just picked up who Jeff Quinn was recruiting before and who Tommy Rees is recruiting. And then when he started to add to the 2023 class in terms of offers, Page was the first guy. And how about this, Darin? Hiestand has offered 3 prospects in the 2023 class. Again, that's not counting someone like Sullivan Absher, who Quinn was recruiting before. So Notre Dame just kept recruiting him under Quinn. Hiestand offered 3 guys in his 23 class. Page, committed to Notre Dame. Joe Otting from Kansas, committed to Notre Dame. There's Sam Pendleton from North Carolina, committed to Notre Dame. So batting 3 for 3. That's you're a big baseball guy. Is batting 3 for 3 at 1,000%? That's pretty good, right?
1 for 3 is pretty good in baseball, Mike. 3 for 3, man, you're heading to the Hall of Fame. So I guess things are going very well right now along the recruiting front for offensive linemen, which kind of leads me into the next question. When you take a look at where the Irish are building their offensive line of the future, it seems like, first off, there's a lot of versatility with the group, let alone a lot of talent that we've seen on tape in high school.
Yeah, it's a fantastic group. I'm excited for when, Notre Dame, it's going to get to 5. I'm fairly, maybe not confident, but I believe that'll end up as 5. And they signed 5 offensive linemen last year, headlined by Emil Wagner, Joey Tanona, and Billy Schrauth. And then in the 2021 class, they signed 5, headlined by Rocco Spindler and Joe Alt and Blake Fisher, some of these big hog mollies up front. I'm excited to debate which is the best on paper of those 3 classes. I mean, offensive line it's Notre Dame, and I don't even know how close it is, Darin.
We're taping this on June 14th, and on June 14th, there was a pretty good football player on Notre Dame's campus, a 5-star running back, Richard Young. A lot of people believe, Mike, he is the number 1 running back in the country, and I've just found this story fascinating. He was not Notre Dame was not on the finalist list of the 7 teams he listed, over a month ago. Then out of nowhere, you know what? I'm going to take an official to Notre Dame. And after reading one of your stories at Blue and Gold, illustratedblueandgold.com, it sounds like he's been very quietly interested in Notre Dame now that information is just coming out.
Yeah, just randomly one day about a month ago, he tweets out Notre Dame official visit June 14th to the 16th. And it was like, oh, okay, like Notre Dame's a factor here all of a sudden. Because like you mentioned, he had a top 7. I think he did like a top 10 before that a couple months prior. And, the kids love their top schools groups. Notre Dame was never a school on there. Lance Taylor offered him pretty early. So it's not like Notre Dame was late in this thing. It's just there was something that occurred that spiked his interest in Notre Dame. Delane McCullough, Notre Dame's running backs coach, went down to his high school a couple times during the spring evaluation period that ran from mid-April to the end of May, and Notre Dame's at least got a puncher's chance for Richard Young, the number 1 running back in the country per the On3 consensus. I mean, I should know more, Thursday when his visit wraps up, how Fighting Irish sources are feeling about Notre Dame's chances for Richard Young. But if I had a crystal ball, I would say those chances are still slim. But I will say this, though, Darin. Notre Dame's just one of those unique places that you go there, if you're a recruit, and if it clicks, it just kind of has this mystic pull that it only takes one visit, and if you love it, boom, you're committed to Notre Dame. Now, does that mystic connection happen with Richard Young this week? I've got no idea, but happened with guys like Braylon James and Sam Pendleton, who for a while were not Notre Dame leans at all, and then all of a sudden Notre Dame gets in that recruitment and lands them after just one visit. So we'll see what happens with Richard Young. But again, I think he's Bama bound. All that to say, I think he's going to end up at Alabama, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. Reading online, the On3 projections, it seems like Alabama is way in front. But I did notice in your article, he mentioned the strong relationship that he's built with McCullough. And those are magical words in recruiting.
Yeah, relationships are everything. But it's not like he's known McCullough for that long. So, for Notre Dame to land like this type of kid, you got to be in this for the long haul. Notre Dame just kind of came in here recently. So, again, it's going to be tough for them to land them, but you get them on campus. You never know what can happen. So we'll just have to see, Darin.
Final question for you. I know sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes when you get a quarterback in a class, it can change the perception of some recruits. Some, not all. A running back like Young, a 5-star, the number 1 running back in the country, is that the type of, if he would pick Notre Dame, would that alter maybe even some of the wide receivers or other skill position players to say, wow, I want to be with the best, and the best is going to Notre Dame? Do you see that very often?
So in Young's case, I think it would be a matter of he's a big-time prospect. Big-time prospects become friends with other, 5-star, top 100 type talents. And, if I'm I don't even think it matters the position. If I'm some 5-star linebacker or something, I see Richard Young going to Notre Dame, I'm thinking to myself, I got an offer from Notre Dame. Like, I wasn't really thinking about Notre Dame like that, but Richard Young's going there, let me connect with him and see what Notre Dame's all about. That's something that happens. Now, you know me, Darin. We've been doing these interviews for a couple years now. I'm very much in the camp of kids go to college where they want to go to college. They're not going to pick a school based on where their buddy is going. Caveat being their brother. That's a real package deal. So it wouldn't ever be like I'm going here because of Richard Young, but it could start a spark in interest at least.
Very good. Hey, if somebody's got 4 quarters in their car right now, maybe it's rolling around on the floorboard, any suggestions what they should do with them?
Yeah, head to blueandgold.com. $1 for 1 year premium access. Deal's still going on. I mean, I keep looking at the site each morning, but it's still going on. My bosses still have it. And we've had such a great month, a record-breaking month for page views at blueandgold.com, and it's June. You would think that it's the dog days of the offseason, but College World Series, Notre Dame football recruiting, counting down until the Ohio State Notre Dame game. I mean, it's a really great time to sign up for blueandgold.com.